Hi everyone, today we've got a different video. I'm trying a new format. I hope it helps. If you're struggling a little bit with writing, speaking, or you're struggling a bit with grammar, this video is here to help you. I'm just going to start with a story. This story goes back a long time. A student once saying to me that he was doing his IELTS test and they were asking him about climate change or global warming. And he said, I don't know anything about that. That was his complaint to me after the test. And I thought, well, that's kind of your problem. And this is a common problem I encounter with students of IELTS, is that they don't have this kind of knowledge. So that's the common problem. I don't have ideas, or I don't know anything about that. So I have a solution. Learn about it. It's just the truth. If you're going to go to university, you need a 6 or 6.5. It's going to be a lot easier if you have this general knowledge. Topics like climate change, topics like health. You need to learn about these things if you want to speak intelligently during your test. So, I see other teachers talk about lying or just, improvise. But here's a better idea. The internet has so much information on it in English and in your language. In the end, you don't want to be so focused on grammar. You want to focus on ideas. And the reason is that complex grammar is used to express complex ideas. So here's the problem. If you have no ideas, you have no grammar. End of discussion. I see a lot of YouTube videos talking about grammar, but it's really pointless. How are you going to remember? You can't remember the grammar, but you can remember how to connect your ideas. So we'll be doing that today. At the end of this video, you'll have some ideas about how to improve your ideas, which will help you improve your grammar. And yes, that's the point. More opportunity for more complex grammar. And just remember, English is a habit, not a skill. If you do this daily or a few times a week, you will get better. All right? If your IELTS test is tomorrow, this is probably not going to help a lot. But if you've got 2 months, you'll be fine. If you turn off this video in the next minute, all I want you to know is read and listen more. It's all over the internet. All right, so here's an activity that I do with students very frequently to help them with their ideas. I know a lot of people love TED Talks. So here's one TED Talk that I love to show the students. This is Al Gore. He was the vice president of the United States for 8 years while Bill Clinton was president. He is now a person who speaks about climate change. So the video is available on YouTube. The Case for Optimism on Climate Change, Al Gore. That's from 2016. Go and watch it. And I want you to think about this. The problem he's talking about is climate change. I want you to make notes. What are the causes of climate change? And what are the effects of climate change? My advice, go press pause on this video, open another window, and go watch his video. I'll put a link to it down below, but go watch. It's really interesting. All right, welcome back. I trust that you watched the video. Let's take a look at my notes. All right, so the problem, climate change, fairly straightforward. Now, he talked about a few of the causes. Carbon-based fuel. All right, you know that. You know this. The cars that we drive, the airplanes, if they're using gasoline, if they're using diesel, that's a carbon-based fuel. That's a cause of the climate change. Coal mining, coal plants, all right, air transport, forest fires. He basically shows you a picture. and that covers most of these. And here's the thing. I mean, by the way, if you're sitting here going, agriculture, how does that contribute to climate change? I mean, look it up. Find out. Ask a friend. All right? Like talk to people and find out why or take a look on Google. Even do it in your language. The more you know, the easier learning a language is going to be. The other point, he talked a lot about the effects. So he explained a lot about how climate change works. He talked about extra energy getting into the atmosphere. I'm going to make this a bit bigger for you because I would hate for you to be squinting right now. He talked about heat captured in the ocean. And then he talked about some of the effects. Storms have become stronger. He mentioned the Philippines. By the way, everyone, please call it the Philippines in English. New York, New Jersey. He mentioned that there was more moisture in the air. And then as a result, stronger rainfall, flooding. He talked about the economic cost and cities' economies, like in Miami. Drought. I mean, all of this here. What was really interesting, and when I saw this video, was he talked about geopolitical instability. Imagine you are in your IELTS test, and they ask you about climate change and the effect, and you mention geopolitical instability. You will blow the mind of the IELTS examiner. I mean, and by the way, geopolitical instability, I'll bet some people are going, what is that? Right? As I said, this is a complex idea. And if you broke out the word geopolitical instability in your IELTS test, you're going to possibly be looking at a high score for vocabulary. Not for one word, but if you have that kind of unusual word, that less common word, right? Geopolitical instability, livestock, all right? Rainfall, moisture in the air, refugees, like all this language is high level, less common, very specific vocab. If you're aiming for a 7 or higher and you're not using this language, it will, well, you don't absolutely have to have this precise language, but it will definitely get you that a higher score. I love this one. Disease vectors. All of this stuff is really going to be quite helpful. More interesting information, right? You know, we're telling women not to get pregnant in South America because of climate change. Extinction, animals and plants are moving. So we had all these notes. He talked briefly about some of the solutions, but we're going to leave that for now. Anyway, there you go. Ideas. All it took is a 20-minute video. And, you know, if you don't think you'll remember it, learn more about the climate. Even just 5 minutes every day learning about science and environment, you're going to really build up your vocabulary, whether that's in English. If you're learning about it in your native language, that's fine, because then you have the ideas, and it's a lot easier to remember vocabulary like geopolitical instability if you have a clear idea of it when you're speaking in your own language. It's much easier. If you have to learn what geopolitical instability is and English at the same time, I mean, and you don't really care about it, and it's not interesting to you, you're just not going to use this language. And I really hate to say this, guys, but like, it's important to learn this stuff. I know you guys want to go to university, you guys want better jobs. Well, I'm sorry. If you want that, you need to be smarter. You need to be more knowledgeable. And the internet just makes it so easy. So get out there and use it. Now, I promised grammar, and I shall deliver grammar. So I took all these ideas and I've pieced together some grammatical ideas here. So I talk about grammar, but really what I'm talking about is language that expresses ideas. So here we're talking about cause and effect language. So I started with a very simple one, and these are these participle clauses. There are a number of causes of climate change, comma, including. All right, so this was one little grammar point. You know, if they said, what are some of the causes of climate change? Here's a nice way to respond. And you can do this with everything, right? There are a number of causes of poor health, including bad diet and lack of exercise. There are a number of causes of poverty, including unstable work economy and poor government planning, all right? Like, you can use this expression all the time, comma, including. I've done it here as well. Climate change causes a number of problems, including flooding, drought, and even political instability. And by the way, that's a really important word there, even, because, you know, I think most people are surprised when they learn about this impact of climate change. So even implies that there's a bit of surprise there or some kind of shocking information. So just a little thing there. And again, that's an example of like an easier word that can help you get a higher score for vocab because you're using it in a very specific way. Let's jump a bit more clearly, however, into cause and effect. This is probably the most common one I see as a result. So take a look at this. More moisture gets into the atmosphere. As a result, there is more severe flooding. So fairly straightforward, full stop or period. As a result, comma. Very nice. And the other one that is quite similar to this is consequently. Also lovely, works very nicely. And they're two very different expressions. So if you use both of those in a writing or in a speaking, great, you're showing range. But I'll show you the one that I find works a lot nicer. First of all, this one here, this sentence stays the same. More moisture gets into the atmosphere, full stop. This causes. And by the way, please get that S. It's the first thing you learned about English, but it's the last thing you'll actually learn to do properly. This causes more severe flooding. And this is where we can start to have some fun with the grammar. You can change that, comma, which causes more severe flooding. All right, so comma, which. You have both options, full stop or period. This, comma, which. All right, both of them work. Is one better than the other? Not really. Try to use both. They're both fine. They're both cool. They both make you sound very thoughtful. And remember, like, you cannot use this grammar if you're not trying to show the cause and effect relationship. Here's more moisture in the air. What does it cause? Flooding. Moisture in the air, flooding. Cause, effect. Without that connection of ideas, no grammar. You're not going to use this grammar. So as I said, grammar is only there to help you express the idea. You can learn ideas, and that will help you learn grammar. But if you're just learning grammar and structures, it's going to be hard to remember it. It's going to be really hard to remember the grammar when you need to speak and write. And the truth is, even if you don't use the complex grammar, if your ideas are connecting, you can get a higher score. But if your ideas are just kind of one after, there's more moisture in the atmosphere, and there's more earthquakes, and there's more flooding, like, it's not connecting that well. But if you say there's more moisture in the atmosphere, because of this moisture, there's more flooding. Like, those ideas connect together properly. And then, here's where we have some real fun. Which causes can be shortened to just comma, ing, causing more severe flooding. Also, leading to more severe flooding. There's another one. And what I love about this is it's the same grammar, but it looks different. So if they're reading it, it's the same idea, the same structure of grammar, but you're using a different word. Here's another one, resulting in more severe flooding. So now I've done like the same grammatical structure, but each time it looks different. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen this repetitive structure in IELTS writing. For example, first of all, for example, secondly, just this very predictable for example and first, second, finally, where and they all, it's not wrong, but it just looks the same when people do it once or twice, sorry, 2 times or 3 times in their speaking or writing. This is completely different, and it would not occur to me that you're using the same structure. And here's another one I've done, and I've really racked it up. Global temperatures change, comma, causing animals and insects to migrate to different areas. So I took this information and boom, I put it in there. Cause and effect. This leads to the spread of diseases, such as the Zika virus. Okay, and so I've done it again. I've given it another effect. And you can do this like, just effect, 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 and it's fine. And I could say again, and this has caused government authorities to warn women to not get pregnant. So once again, I'm just layering on effect. And of course, if you're going to say something, and this is really important, if you're going to say that it leads to diseases spreading, hopefully you can explain how that happens. And you might say, because as parts of, as global temperatures changes, the temperatures in a city might change, and so mosquitoes may move there, and they will bring certain diseases or viruses with them. So as long as you can explain it, that's even better, because now you're, not just giving cause and effect, but you're explaining how the process works. I hope that works for you. Hey, if you're still watching the video, feel free to take some of these causes and effects, write about them down below. Use these techniques I've taught you, and I'll have a look at them, and hopefully I'll have some time to correct them. So that's really what I wanted to share with you, is get ideas, because if you have more ideas, you'll be able to learn more grammar and get that higher score. And more importantly, you can get a better job, you can go to school, and you can solve the world's problems, because that's really what we need right now. And learning a new language, whether it's English or Chinese or Arabic, it's going to help us solve problems, and that's what I want you guys to do. All right, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. That's what all the cool YouTubers say at the end of their videos, and I will see you next week.